America is many things to many people. To a 17-year-old kid, it's the malt shop on the corner. To Grandpa, it's the front porch in the cool of the evening. To Mother and her family, it's church on Sunday morning. And to Dad, it's his favorite relaxation. It's the Cracker Barrel philosophers in Crabtree Corners. And it's the tycoons in Wall Street. It's all races, creeds, and religions. It's freedom to work at the job you like. Freedom of speech and to peaceably assemble. Freedom to own property. Security from unlawful search or seizure.
Where's your warrant, Flatfoot?
The right to a speedy and public trial. Protection against cruel punishments and excessive fines. The right to vote. And to worship God in your own way. It is these freedoms that have made America strong.
Okay, so we got our freedom. But management's lousing up everything.
Labor is at fault. It's ruining the country.
My constituents, as your elected representative, I can assure you Labor's right. Management's right. I'm strictly neutral.
Labor, management, politicians, phooey. They can't tell corn from oats.
Work!
Hurry, step right up, folks. Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ism. Ism will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss. Government control, no worry about votes. Name your own salary. Bigger crops, lower costs. Why, ism even makes the weather perfect every day. And now then, because we are introducing this amazing item for the first time in this country, it isn't going to cost you 1 cent. All you have to do is sign this little scrap of paper, and you get your bottle absolutely free.
I hereby turn over to ISM Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ISM promises to take care of me forever.
Get out of the way!
Pardon me.
And who are you, my good man?
I'm John Q. Public.
Ah, my fine friend, you're just in time to share this generous and gigantic offer. Sign right here.
Mind if I read it first?
Hurry up,
Keep your shirts on, boys.
Including my freedom. Freedom? Well, sign away my freedom. Why, this is ridiculous.
Don't be corny, brother.
Sure, our system of free enterprise isn't perfect. But before we throw it away for some imported double talk, let's turn the clock back a few years to see what it's done for us. For example, back in the 1890s, Joe Dokes was just a guy who liked to tinker around his barn. Some people thought Joe was lazy. Some even thought he was nuts. But one day, he had an idea. And because he was free to dream his dream and tinker, Joe had a chance to make something of himself and his idea. So, of course, some people didn't think so much of Joe's idea. But that didn't stop him. So Joe got some money from young Aunt Minnie and Uncle Angus and Grandpappy and Mr. Titus. When Joe's friends and relatives used their savings to help him buy tools and property, they were capitalists. Don't blush, folks. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Now, naturally, Joe needed some help. So he hired Willie Lumpkin, who was out of work anyway, and before long, Willie had the know-how and became skilled labor. Because capital, management, and labor worked together, Joe's idea grew. It grew and did things even he never dreamed of. Today, the automobile industry provides millions of jobs that never existed before. And remember, this is a story of only one industry. There are thousands more scattered all over the United States whose history of development is pretty much the same. We've built a country under the American system that sends more young people to high school and college than all the rest of the world combined. Why, even in the Depression, our wages bought more food, clothing, travel, and entertainment than the wages of any other people in the world. Our country has a national income equal to the total national incomes of any other 6 nations in the world. With only 7% of the Earth's people, we drive 70% of the world's automobiles. That's just a sample of the things the capitalistic system has given us in only 160 years. Before signing up, you boys ought to try a little taste of Dr. Ism's formula to see what you'd get in exchange for your freedom. Go ahead, try it.
You can't do this to me! I'll strike!
The state forbids strikes.
Wait till the union hears about this!
Ah, yes, the union. Welcome to our ranks, number 1313.
I'll take this case to the Supreme Court.
The state is the Supreme Court. Our decision is as follows. No more private property. No more you.
The farm vote will put a stop to this.
Farmers don't vote anymore.
What'll they do for seed next year?
You won't have to worry about next year. The state will do your planning from now on.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything!
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person seeks to rob us of our freedom and destroy our very lives. And we know what to do about it.
And now, gentlemen, no violence, please. Don't throw those bottles. Don't throw those bottles. No! Oh, no! No! Hey!
Working together to produce an ever greater abundance of material and spiritual values for all. That is the secret of American prosperity.
As we've just seen, Make Mine Freedom was created in 1948, in the midst of the Cold War, a time when tensions between capitalism and communism were at their peak. The film paints a picture of capitalism as the guardian of American freedom and prosperity, while dismissing ism, a stand-in for communism, socialism, or any alternative system, as a dangerous and deceptive force that strips people of their liberties. This oversimplified portrayal of the political landscape reflects the anxieties of the era, where fears of communism were stoked by both government and corporate interests. But let's take a closer look. First, we need to understand that the filmmakers were heavily funded by corporate foundations like the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, which had a vested interest in promoting capitalism. The film was part of a larger movement that sought to align business interests with national identity, linking free enterprise with patriotism. In this light, the animation isn't just an innocent cartoon, it's a sophisticated piece of propaganda designed to influence public opinion, especially among workers by discrediting union organizing and government regulations. The use of humor and self-deprecating characters like Dr. Utopia might make the message feel lighthearted, but the underlying fearmongering is quite clear. If you stray from capitalism, you're giving up your freedom and your future. The cartoon suggests that communism would lead to a totalitarian nightmare where workers have no rights, businesses are erased, and even farmers lose control of their land. Yet, these caricatures reduce complex political and economic systems into overly simplistic choices between good and evil. So, how does this hold up today? The Cold War may be over, but the tension between different economic systems remains very real. Debates over capitalism versus socialism have resurfaced in modern political discourse. Younger generations facing rising inequality, climate change, and corporate monopolies question the sustainability of free market capitalism. Many of the benefits the film associates with capitalism, such as prosperity, freedom, and innovation, are now being scrutinized as people grapple with the growing wealth gap and the concentration of power in fewer hands. Meanwhile, the film's portrayal of ism also deserves reconsideration. While the authoritarian regimes of the Soviet Union and Maoist China failed to deliver on their promises of worker empowerment, the critique of socialism here ignores the many forms it can take, including the social democracies in Europe, where government intervention in the economy coexists with high standards of living and personal freedoms. The film doesn't leave room for these nuances. It's an all-or-nothing argument that doesn't reflect the diversity of ideas within socialist or capitalist frameworks. By framing the conversation in terms of freedom versus totalitarianism, the filmmakers appeal to American ideals. But do they also dodge some critical questions? For instance, is the freedom to own property more important than freedom from poverty or hunger? How does capitalism deal with inequality? These are questions we continue to grapple with today, and this film offers a starkly one-sided answer that serves the interests of its corporate sponsors. It's also important to recognize the cultural context of this film. The post-war period was a time when people longed for normalcy after years of economic depression and global conflict. The promises of capitalism seemed to offer stability and growth, but they also masked the struggles of many, including marginalized communities, who were left out of the so-called American dream. The film doesn't mention racial inequality, gender disparity, or the fact that many workers fought hard battles for labor rights, often against the very business interests that funded productions like this. What makes this propaganda particularly effective is how it appeals to the idea of working together, a concept we can all get behind. But working together, as the film portrays it, really means accepting the status quo, an economic system where business holds most of the power, and labor is expected to fall in line. It's a vision that conveniently leaves out the struggles of unions, the exploitation of workers, and the environmental impact of unregulated industry. In today's world, with ongoing debates about wealth inequality, corporate responsibility, and the role of government in our lives, the conversation between capitalism and socialism is far from over. So, does Make Mine Freedom still resonate? Perhaps as a historical document, it gives us insight into the fears and hopes of a specific time. But it also challenges us to think critically about the systems we live under today. Are we still facing the same choices? Or are we in need of a more nuanced approach to balance individual freedoms with collective responsibility? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the film's portrayal of capitalism versus ism still holds up? What are your views on the balance between freedom and economic systems? Let's keep the conversation going. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay curious and question everything.